And welcome to the 2017 NFL Scouting Combine. I'm Joe Fann, Matt Maiocco of CSN Bay Area, recapping all the events of day two. Matt, we've heard from Kyle Shanahan, we've heard from John Lynch. What are your overall reactions from what those two had to say?
It's a different era with the 49ers. John Lynch, very much a people person, very transparent. I don't know that I've been at a combine before where a general manager just offers up that he met with somebody the previous night.
And that it went well.
And that he blew the doors off of the interview process, referring to DeShone Kizer, quarterback from Notre Dame. So, and then afterward, I followed up with John and asked him, which other of those quarterbacks have you met with? And he basically said he's going to meet with the four guys that he mentioned, Trubisky, Kizer, Watson, and Mahomes at some point before they leave here. So no secret, the 49ers are in the market for a quarterback.
And they've said that verbally.
That they're in the market for a quarterback?
I mean,
well, when you don't have a quarterback on your roster, it goes without saying that you're in the market for a quarterback.
I still think the fact that they said it is still like, we're here, we're looking for quarterbacks, we're talking to everybody about quarterbacks, we're going to evaluate all the quarterbacks, we're going to talk trades, we're going to talk free agency, and we have a lot of options at our disposal. That's something that Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch both said. We don't necessarily have an A plan, B plan, C plan. They didn't tell us, but what they do have is what they feel like is a lot of options at the position.
True. And you were also there when I asked John Lynch about the approach to free agency. And I said, 49er fans are conditioned to, at the start of free agency, take a very long nap because you're not going to miss anything. He said, be awake.
Stay woke.
Stay woke. Stay awoke. Did he say woke?
No, he didn't. No, he didn't. That's just what the cool kids say. That's what cool kids say, man.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
I'm not a cool kid.
Yep.
You should know that. You do know that.
I do. Okay.
And John is a good communicator, we know that from his 8 years at Fox. But he said they have a plan for free agency. They want to fill these needs, a lot of the needs they want to fill in free agency, so that they don't go into the draft with, we need to take a guy at this position, because it kind of backs you into a corner. You want to be able to go into the draft saying, we want to take the best players, the best player at the time that they're drafting. So he said they're going to be aggressive in free agency. They've already been aggressive in free agency.
Spent more than they did all last year.
Free agency hasn't started yet. Yeah, so Earl Mitchell will play the nose. He's going to be the starting base lineman in the 49ers' new 4-3 scheme. So that's a big move. And now let's see where free agency takes it. Certainly get the impression that things are going to go pretty slow with Colin Kaepernick. It certainly doesn't sound like he's a priority to re-sign. I think they probably have their eyes on a few other veteran quarterbacks. I don't know that the trade option is really going to be significant to land, the quarterback of the now and the future. So next week should be entertaining to see what the 49ers do, how quickly they strike, what positions they strike, and what players at those positions are they going to get. Quarterback high on that list. I would assume that they'll have a quarterback signed, maybe even more than one, day one of free agency.
If you have questions for Matt Maiocco, ask him. Johnny Volk standing by to share those. What I think strikes me about John Lynch
is Johnny just going to shout it from off
camera? We'll go to him. He'll raise his hand like we're in class, and we'll call it out. The camera? It's like the what is it? The PTI voice. When they're calling it out. You don't see the guys. It's high budget stuff here.
Yeah, we want to make sure people are woke.
Woke. You got to stay woke, and they're a part of the action here. Yeah. What strikes me about John Lynch is yes, he's transparent and he's very open. And we talked to Rob Reng of CBS Sports, and he said he was surprised about how open he was. You don't hear that much from NFL GMs. Yeah. Usually, such a tight knit, everything is closed doors. But I also think he's very calculated as well. I mean, whether it's posturing, whether he truly feels that way, he's not divulging anything that's going to take away from what they're doing in the meeting rooms, in their draft meetings. But he's sharing the information that he might want out there.
Yeah, right. And specifically, we'll go back to the quarterback position. He made a point to say several times at the podium and again when he met with just us of how good the quarterback position is. That he said that they're getting a bad rap, these quarterbacks. And I think recently Mike Maiocco said that there were, what did he say? There
wasn't one in the top 10.
Yeah,
he didn't have any quarterback ranked in his top 10.
No quarterback in the top 10. It's clear to me. They're going to be a quarterback, multiple quarterbacks, maybe two, taken in the top 10.
Yep.
So by John Lynch, hey, the 49ers are in a good position because they're picking number 2, and the people who are picking number 2 are not responsible for why they're picking number 2.
And he said that. He
Yes.
said normally people, you have the number 2 pick, it just you came off a bad season. It's like, well, that's true, but I wasn't here for that, so I walk into
it's the reason he has a job.
to salary cap and a number 2 pick, and I'm not hating it.
Yeah, it's the reason Kyle Shanahan got hired. It's the reason John Lynch got hired. But with the number 2 pick, it behooves the 49ers to have interest in that pick. And what do people trade up for in the draft? Typically, you trade up for a quarterback.
Jared Goff, Exhibit A, Carson Wentz, Exhibit B, just last season.
Yeah. So, if you're talking up the quarterbacks and the market is good for a quarterback, there could be a team that would want to come up to number 2 with the 49ers. And if the 49ers are in love with 4 quarterbacks, or whatever that number is, 3 quarterbacks, then if you trade back, you can still get somebody you like. But I don't necessarily think that it's a given the 49ers are going to use their first pick on a quarterback. It could very well be that they're going to draft a quarterback. I'd be shocked if they didn't, but it doesn't have to be number 2. It doesn't have to be number 34. Could be somewhere in between those numbers, or it could be after that. But I think what we see them do in the early stages of free agency, I think they're going to get kind of a placeholder kind of guy in free agency, whether it's Brian Hoyer, Matt Schaub, or both. And then you can, as you get into this draft process, and Kyle Shanahan has talked about, he loves to get really involved in this and not just, blow through 4 prospects in one day. He wants to spend a couple days analyzing these guys. So I don't think at this point, we certainly don't know which way the 49ers are going. I don't think the 49ers know which way the 49ers are going in the draft if they were to stay at number 2.
And you have to get through free agency before you can even answer that question, but it behooves the 49ers, it behooves John Lynch and his team to drive up that value of the number 2
Absolutely.
pick and say, hey, this is a big deal. You can get X, Y, and Z at this spot. Before we take your questions, and we'll get there in just a moment, another big story this week. Jimmy Ward was touched on by Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch. Is he going to be a cornerback? Is he going to be a safety? He's played nickel. He's played safety. He's played on the outside during his couple of seasons with the 49ers. And John Lynch said today, I see him, just preliminary film analysis, I see him as a fit in our scheme as that deep free safety, position that Eric Reed has occupied, which could move him into a different role. And so what's your take on that in terms of what they're going to do with Jimmy Ward?
Well, I think they have to figure out, and I mean, they know the answer to this. Robert Saleh certainly knows the answer to this. Saleh. Did I pronounce it right?
Saleh.
Robert Saleh. Whatever your most important position is, is Jimmy a better fit? Not a better fit. Is Jimmy more important to be the free safety, playing the 3 deep zone, playing the center field, making plays? Or is it more important to have a guy who showed some good stuff at cornerback in his first year on the job? Is that worth continuing with that? My thought is it certainly sounds like, whereas Kyle Shanahan was non-committal and was, he could be either or. We're still talking about it. It certainly sounded that John Lynch views him as a free safety. So I would suspect that once the offseason program begins, we'll be seeing Jimmy Ward moving from cornerback back to safety in this scheme. And let's remember, he was the safety, or he was a safety on the 49ers for 2 seasons. Really never got on the field as a safety. He was the back. He was a reserve safety, but when they needed somebody, didn't they go with Jaquiski Tartt? And then he's the nickel guy. That was his role. He was a nickel back, not really a safety. So now maybe we will see him in the true safety position. And they have to make some decisions on him because he's entering the 4th year of his contract. So, and another thing. 49ers are trying to get some of these guys re-signed.
Yep.
That's another thing that John Lynch talked about, that they're in discussions with some of their free agent-to-be guys.
Could be names like Jeremy Curley. We have no idea. John Lynch didn't
Right.
say, but I mean, you can begin to speculate, look down the list, and kind of figure out who they might be targeting.
Yeah.
I think for me, and I don't think it's too far to say this because Kyle Shanahan has mentioned multiple times that Seattle-type defense. And so when you look at Seattle's defense, what's the most important position on the field? What's that deep free safety in Earl Thomas? You saw what happened to them this year. A top defense in the league, Earl Thomas goes down, breaks his leg, and the wheels fall apart in that secondary, in the defense as a whole. And so if you're asking what's the most important position on a defense, yes, they've had Richard Sherman there as an all-pro cornerback for years now, but the second that Earl Thomas goes down, you see the leaks start to turn into gaps. And I think that, if anything, can begin to answer your question.
There you go.
There you go.
So free safety. Jimmy
Johnny,
Ward.
what do we got?
What are your favorite events at the Combine? What are you looking forward to?
Matt, actually, the bench press is open to fans this year. Matt kicked it off, got a solid half rep in at 225, which is more than I did. I got a quarter rep in. I just went down and laid on my chest.
Yeah.
But, you know, give it a good old college try. You can also run your 40 in there. It's like the NFL experience at the Super Bowl and Radio Row at the Super Bowl, like, melded into one. But I guess that's neither here nor there. What's your favorite event?
Well, I like to do the bench press without the weight.
Just the bar.
Just the bar.
Well, how many could you get?
Well, nobody in Indianapolis goes to bars quite like me. So, hold on. What bar are we talking about? We're talking about the bench press bar.
We're talking about
yeah.
The,
so my favorite event in Indianapolis are the bars.
You get J on one side, W on the other side, and
right.
the JW bar just full tilt.
Yeah. Favorite, we don't really the events or the I don't know what they're called, the disciplines, whatever they're doing.
I mean, it's draft media.
It's all overstated.
It's overstated. People like to see the numbers. People want to see that a quarterback weighs 6'2". I guess an interesting note, again, we didn't touch on Mitch Trubisky. Very open to say, again, something you'll never hear from a GM, John Lynch. Mitch Trubisky, weighed in.
Measured in.
There's the word I'm looking for. At 6'2", he made some money today. I've never heard a GM say, this guy made himself some money today.
Yeah.
Again,
the question is whether
refreshing.
he made. There's Mike Silver.
Mike Silver.
Off camera.
Hey, Mike Silver. Come on in here, Mike Silver.
We're live.
How we doing? We're live on Periscope right now. Get in here.
Some technology that I'm not allowed to use because my daughter will call me old.
Oh, there you go. I thought it was because
you're younger than Matt. You're the second youngest guy on the crew.
I'm not younger than that.
No, I know. I was just.
Jeez.
And we both aged unbelievably well.
Yes, I believe so.
You know what really aged me? Covering the 49ers every day from 1989 to 1994.
And you didn't have to go through 3 coaching searches in back-to-back seasons.
I did not have to do that. I did have to deal with an owner